women and their families. And currently now you're listening to the 16 Days of Activism on Women Radio 91.7. And you might be wondering, what exactly does this mean? What is the 16 Days of Activism? This is a specialized program where we get to raise awareness, mobilize action, and call for the prevention and elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls worldwide. And this broadcast is going to be happening from today, Tuesday, 25th of November, 2025, to the 10th of December, 2025, every single day at 12:05 p.m. You're welcome. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you want to share one or two things with us, you can call us on 07000 917 917. You can also send me a text on 08155 917 917. You can join us live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at WFM 917. Now, today is the first day of the 16 days of activism, and we're turning the spotlight on ending digital violence. Yes, that's what we're doing today. We're having conversations to help end digital violence. We'll be looking at the progress made so far, by various organizations. We'll be bridging the gap that still exists and the crucial steps, the next step that are needed to be taken to create safer online spaces for our women and our girls. And we're going to be having various organizations come up today to share their stories, to share their works and their achievements so far on ending digital violence. On today's program, we're focusing on ending digital violence, like I said earlier, why it matters, and what it looks like, and how we can protect women and girls online. My name is Voilence Akiremi, and of course, I have a special guest with me here in the studio. And joining me on the program today, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself for a moment. She's a fantastic woman doing great work in our organization. Good afternoon, ma'am. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, it's Voilence. It's good to share the spotlight of the speak with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing so well. So good to have you. You look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So as an organization, can you just quickly introduce yourself, your organization, and what you do in general?
Okay, so my name is Chisom Claire Akwe. I am a lawyer. I am also a program officer. I work at Baobab for Women's Human Rights. Baobab for Women's Human Rights is a women-centered and women-focused organization that is majorly or heavily concerned with the protection of the rights of women and girls across the three major legal systems of law in Nigeria. You have the customary law, the Islamic laws, and the likes. So our goal is to ensure that the rights of women and girls in Nigeria particularly form an integral part of everyday life. So at our organization, we are like an umbrella for the protection of rights of women and girls. That informs the name of our organization, Baobab for Women.
That's amazing. That's so much great work you're doing for women and girls. Well done. Now, you're welcome. As an organization that is working to protect women and girls, like you mentioned earlier, what specific programs or let's say initiatives do you provide to support survivors of digital violence?
Okay, so in our organization, we run an intervention program that generally addresses the issue of sexual and gender-based violence. It's under one of our donor-funded projects, the Raising Champions for Change project. So you can call it an ecosystem of some sort that seeks to address or to prevent the prevalent issue of sexual and gender-based violence, especially among young people. So our target audience is particularly young persons under the Raising Champions of Change project. So under the Raising Champions of Change project, like I said, we have a couple of activities so that you have the capacity strengthening activities where we have the Boys End Violence Against Women and Girls. This targets ensuring that we enforce positive masculinity among young boys and young men. We also have the SVLRA Institute, that's the Sexual Violence Reporting, Leadership and Advocacy Institute. That is going to be graduating its 6th cohort sometime within the week at the Bafemi Awolowo University.
Wow.
Yeah. So under the institute, we get to train young women within the school campus on how they can be advocates for change, especially as it has to do with addressing sexual and gender-based violence, particularly within the communities. So we also have the project Catalyst that serves as a continuous mentorship project, a continuous mentorship arm of the activity that ensures that graduates from the institute, partake in mentorship activities from very renowned and active feminist voices and
Yes.
very popular voices in the women's rights spaces in Nigeria. So we also have the Club NOSA. So Club NOSA is like the peer activity group of the institute. So like I said, it's an ecosystem of some sort, ensuring that young people are actively involved regardless of the agenda in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. Now, because it's a program that is targeted or that is largely focused on young people, we find out that digital and technology assisted gender-based violence forms an integral part of conversations, of mentorship, of discussions and the likes, because we know that young people are usually, or we usually form the larger number of persons who make use of, technology, social media and digital platforms where these forms of violence are usually perpetrated at a very high rate. So in the course of these activities and within this our project ecosystem, we seek to address the issue of digital and technology assisted gender-based violence.
That's really good. That's really, really good. You're doing a great work, and I'm really, really happy we have organizations like this that focuses on these things. Thank you so much. Now, how does your organization ensure that survivors of digital abuse, they receive holistic support? And, especially, let's say psychological assistance, digital security guidance, and legal help where necessary?
Okay, so in our organization, we believe that in instances of sexual and gender-based violence, especially or particularly as it has to do with the online platforms, digital tools, we believe that survivor or victim protection, survivor protection in this regard, we believe that it's very paramount. And that's why we've run a multi-framework of survivor assistance in instances of digital gender-based violence. So in this situation, we have networks, we have coalitions, we have partnerships that exist between us and professionals such as counselors, mental health awareness organizations, mental health therapists, mental health groups and the likes. We also talk about legal aid groups, lawyers who we also partner with, so that in the event that we get, reports, when survivors reach out to us in this regard, we ensure that we are like the first point of contact for them, so that when they reach out to us, and that's why we try to make ourselves as very accessible as possible, so that when they reach out to us, we immediately, the first priority is to ensure that the survivor is safe.
Yes.
So while ensuring that they are safe and their identity is highly protected, we try to, establish that connection between them and professionals within our network that will immediately commence survivor-related activities, survivor assistance activities, that's the counseling, legal aid and the like. So everything is commenced simultaneously. So we try to establish ourselves as the point of first contact, and when we do that, we now link or we connect these survivors to professionals within our network that will provide services that will ensure their holistic recovery and ensure their access to justice as well.
That's really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that you put them at the center. You're always ensuring that they receive the support that they need. Thank you so much. Now, digital violence often goes unreported many times because of the shame or the fear of not being believed, because many people are not usually believed. So how do you tackle societal and cultural stigmas that prevent survivors from seeking help when the abuse happens online?
All right. So the first thing I would have to point out before I go down to the nitty-gritty of the response is that most times abusers or perpetrators bank on the silence of survivors.
Very true. I agree.
Silence weapon. When it comes to issues that have to do with sexual and gender-based violence, silence is a weapon. So, but what we do, we try to redirect this narrative to ensure that survivors understand that the shame of abuse is not theirs to carry.
Yes.
We try to ensure that they don't internalize that shame and they don't, fall back on silence, to try to, cover up for what has happened or what has been done to them. So the first thing we do is it's a narrative change to ensure that they understand that the shame is not theirs to carry. Therefore, they should not, enable the act, they should not further enable the act by keeping silence. We try to ensure that we make a safe space for them to be able to voice out confidently and confidentially as well. So beyond this, we also ensure that we engage with communities.
Okay.
example, we're talking of, religious communities, community leaders, traditional rulers, and the likes, because we understand how people are usually taking on the influence of these leaders, especially religious leaders or traditional leaders, on their communities. So we try to engage with them, and then through them engage indirectly with their communities to make them understand that, the survivors in this instance should always, have access to be able to speak out, have access to their voice.
That really does. Yes.
Yes. So we just try to ensure that through them, these people within these community spaces have access to their voice, to be able to voice out. And then beyond just voicing out, we ensure that through our engagements with these communities, they do not protect the perpetrators of this act. So you find out in many instances, communities try to form a shield that protects this act. And that is where perpetrators get to, seek safety within the community, within the silence of the victim, and then ensure that the community can offer them because of whatever reason. So we try to ensure that the community, beyond just providing a voice for the victim, so now we've re-engineered the whole system so that while the survivor has a voice, the perpetrator has nowhere to hide. So this is what informs our engagement with community leaders and the like. Then we also, ensure that we maintain a safe reporting mechanism. So it is not enough that we try to create a space for survivors to, interface with us, tell their stories, make their reports and the like, seek help from us. We try to ensure that while making it victim or survivor centered, we also make it safe. We adopt and we ensure that our partners, professionals, organizations within our coalition and the like, to ensure that they adopt mechanisms that are very, very conversant or aligned with the extant data protection and data privacy regulations in force. So while you're reporting, because it is a thing, survivors usually have this issue of shame. So you have to ensure that they are safe. They feel safe enough to be able to report these things. And beyond just making it big and survivor centered, we try to make it safe for them. So try to ensure that our reporting mechanisms are very safe. That answers you.
That's very true. I love that, because a lot of people fall victim of these things. And like you said, silence is a weapon, especially in this situation. Exactly. So when they tell you not to talk, yes, that is when they gain the power. The perpetrators gain the power to, oppress you. So when you speak up, you get a solution, you get clarity, you get support.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's on the spotlight. True.
That's very true. Now, I know that a lot of women are not aware of digital safety practices, and they don't know about these things. So what is your organization doing? Do you have any trainings? Do you have any capacity building programs dedicated to digital literacy and online protection?
Yes, so in our organization, we organize capacity building and capacity strengthening sessions, which could be virtual or which could be in person. And when we organize these things, we try to target women in, suburban and rural communities, you understand? Not like we discriminate or anything, but we take everybody along, but we usually target women in suburban and rural communities who are not usually very tech savvy, you understand? So when we engage, when we organize this kind of capacity building and capacity strengthening sessions, we try to teach them digital safety.
Yes.
Try to make them understand tools that make them digitally safe. We try to make them understand that their digital persona is as much of a part of them as their physical person. So they should also try to be able to, to be exposed to tools that help them protect their digital person, tools that enable them, teach them reporting mechanisms on social media platforms, how to follow up with their reports and the likes. So beyond that, we also engage in legal literacy activities, either physically, virtually, or through print and IEC materials. So we get to publish digital literacy materials and booklets that address issues of sexual and gender-based violence, especially as it has to be with technology-assisted or technology-facilitated gender-based violence. We also try to, provide policy reports periodically that we get to publish to ensure that digital literacy materials are, digital literacy generally is accessible to anybody that has a phone that has an internet, you understand? So you don't really have to wait until you buy the law books and all of that. And when we do this, we don't just provide these materials, we ensure that we break it down to the nitty-gritty to what any person who is not a lawyer can understand. I don't get. We try to take it, we assimilate it, and we break it down for the regular person on the street to understand it and understand it wholly. And in doing this, we also take into cognizance the fact that there are a lot of women, there are a lot of persons who are, not literate or semi-literate. We take these people into consideration, and in producing our materials, we produce them in various languages. We produce in Hausa language, we produce in Pidgin as well. That is, much more popular among people. So in doing this, we try to ensure that digital literacy is at the center of our advocacy activities as an organization in trying to end sexual and gender-based violence, especially technology-facilitated gender-based violence.
That's very good. Thank you so much for all of those answers that you gave to my questions. They were really precise, very detailed, and I must say you're doing great work at Baobab. Really, really great work, Ejiri. Thank you so much for your contribution to society. Thank you. I also believe that ending digital violence requires intentional action, stronger safeguards, and a collective communication, and also commitment to protect women and girls in our online spaces. And as we continue the 16 days of activism, let us challenge harmful practices, protect digital safety, and ensure that our survivors receive support that needs to reclaim their voices. They need to reclaim their voices online. And you can see organizations like Baobab doing great work. So if you need anyone to talk to, you need support, you need anything of any kind, please always reach out to them. Are there numbers you'd like people to call, to reach out to you, for those who need support or of any kind?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you like to tell us your phone number, social media handles, so that any supporters can reach out to the organization.
Okay, so we are very active on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find us at Baobab for Women's Human Rights. For our email, you use info@baobabforwomen's.com. Yes, you can always grant you immediate access to any of us. On our website as well, you find us, when you search for Baobab, you'll see us. You find our website, it has contact details, email, social media handles, phone numbers, response at any point in time.
All right, thank you so much. Special thanks to my guest for today. Thank you so much for coming, Jason. It was such a pleasure having you here. And the Baobab Women, you're welcome. And the Baobab for Women's Rights, Women's Human Rights organization. Thank you so much. Special thank you to the production team of Women Radio 91.7 for putting this together, and to my executive producer, Tom Okiwale Shonaya. Join us tomorrow by 12:05 p.m. for another conversation on the 16 days of activism on Women Radio 91.7. Till then, my name is Kinfolua Kirami. It was a pleasure having you here. Good afternoon. Bye for now. I love you.